We do have a special guest in studio this morning. The gentleman is looking quite ministerial this morning. Don't show him as yet. He looks very happy this morning, not as angry as we know him to be sometimes. And I'm saying all of this in front of the gentleman, you know. Yeah? He's here with us this morning. Put him up, everybody. Phillip Alexander.
Good morning, Sue.
Look, Phillip Alexander, you are very happy this morning. Look at you.
Trinidad.
You know there's a song, look at you, look at you, look at you. Looking very happy this morning, Phillip Alexander.
People love to see our interviews, you know. You know that, right? They say it's the best TV they get.
What?
They watch me and you. But I find they put me far, like they're afraid we will fight.
You stay there. You stay in your corner. You stay in your corner. But Phillip,
morning, Sue.
Yeah, morning, and thank you very much for coming this morning. You have been out there for a while, and I think that, let me put it this way, you have been calling for certain things to be done in this country for a number of years now. Some people may not like the way that you would have done it. Last time we would have spoken about that, but I think that you are in a position now to make some change and to do the things that you have called for so many years. And I suspect that's why you're looking so happy this morning, right?
That's one of the reasons, yes. I mean, you and I woke up in a country this morning that feels lighter. You know, I was driving here and I'm thinking, what I talked to Marlon about, you know, I mean, we used to worry and argue about things like the cashless society, property tax, the way the banks take advantage of the people. All those things are now on the table. All those things are now, cashless is gone, property tax will be gone. The banks' financial service regulations are going to be put in place to stop the banks taking advantage of people through fees and stuff. Those are exciting things for the average person. And yeah, water, you know, the jobs, level the education play field, so we don't have prestige schools and failed schools. All of those things we've been talking about and fighting about for all these decades. We finally have an opportunity to give every Trinidadian and Tobagonian hope and opportunity, and yeah, that makes me very happy.
But, you know, I heard it this morning. One commentator would have said, well, this government needs to hit the ground running. I have said this morning that you do not have a honeymoon, eh?
No.
You absolutely do not have a honeymoon. Of course, for the past few years, we've been dealing with a bad crime situation. We've been dealing with the Forex issue. We have been dealing with the economy. We have been even dealing with the situation between Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela concerning gas and so on. And, you know, I asked this morning because I've been around long enough. And I've reported on elections long enough. And forgive me if I sometimes do not share the optimism of other people, because you have right now the injection of labor in the United National Congress. You have people such as you in the United National Congress, very, very outspoken people who have been quite vociferous and sometimes rigid in your positions, yeah? How does that work within a United National Congress? And again, I put it in the context of what would have transpired within the People's Partnership the last time around. How is this going to work, Phillip Alexander?
I wish I had a pen to take notes. Okay, yes, for sure, this is not your first rodeo. You have been out here for a while.
Look at piece of paper and pen. Look, I'm giving away things this morning.
You've been out here for a while. Well, they asked me the 15 million questions together. With regards to the coalition, she was very, and I said this before, she took her time. She didn't just wildly pick people. Not everybody that tried to be a part of this got in. She had plans of her own. And she looked for people that I think that she thought could deliver. I think Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Prime Minister this afternoon, I think that she has assembled a formidable team. These are accomplished people. These are people that can fix it. These are people that can deliver. You're right, we have no honeymoon. You don't have the luxury of a honeymoon in a country where the economy is failing. That's the reality. all of the crime that flows from all of the poverty that flows from the lax and open borders and the collapsing national security. These are all major issues that you can't stick a pin in and take a break. So we literally have to hit the ground running, and I know that she is on top of everything. She's dealing with all her key people, and we're taking our guidance from the tone that she sets, and we're going forward from there.
Phillip Alexander, where are you all getting all of this money from?
They keep saying that.
Yes.
And I think that now that the election is done, we could talk a little more frankly about that. Trinidad has a $60 billion odd budget every year. Do you ever read the Auditor General report after the year or the 2 years that it takes to compile the Auditor General's report into that and see where most of that money goes? We have transfers and subsidies in this country that nobody understands where that money is going. When you look at the Ministry of Health, that gets $5 and $6 billion a year, and you look, there are line items in the columns that seem to suggest that money is parked and earmarked for things other than what's your budget for. You need to fine-tune that budget. We need to increase income. We've put all our eggs in one basket. I remember the outgoing Prime Minister saying that if we don't get dragon gas, our cuckoo cooked.
Yes.
We couldn't ever have contemplated putting a country this fortuitously located on the planet into a position where our cuckoo could cook. I mean, shipping and cruise ship tourism alone could start to bring money this week. And I'm being using a little bit of hyperbole there, but I want to tell you, it's to make us understand that there were ways to diversify the economy. We have 90,000 acres of farmland, 30,000 registered farmers ready to work. That could start reducing the burden on the foreign exchange, redirect that money. We have a lot of things to put in place that were deliberately set up to benefit others. What we need to do is redevelop Trinidad, and I am not speaking for the leader, but I have been sitting in all of the meetings and hearing her speak, and I know that the plan is to level the playing field, to bring everybody under the umbrella. So I believe that generating those jobs, inviting foreign direct investment in business and industry outside of the energy sector. We've never looked at that. Trinidad workers are very skilled workers. They're fast learning. We live on 13% of the land in Trinidad. We're supposed to be developing spaces where we could invite businesses. I made a statement a couple of years ago. When Elon Musk became the richest man in the world was because he got a contract, I think it was for Hertz, rent-a-car, to provide Teslas for them. And I said, if this man has all of these contracts to provide all of these vehicles, why can't we make some space available for him in Trinidad to manufacture dashboards and trunk lids and whatever? But you could create thousands of jobs with the right incentives for these people. Our natural gas, we still have natural gas here that we could redirect to purpose. I think we need to audit what's happening with our electricity. I know that a lot of our electricity is generated and wasted because of mismanagement. It was set up to generate electricity for an iron and steel plant that is no longer functional and that used to use about 50% of the electricity. We need all of that information. We don't have information, and I think that the first couple of days, every newly appointed minister is going to have to be auditing their ministry to find out exactly where the money is going.
Yeah. So, Mrs. Prasad Bissessa, she's going to be sworn in today. I'm sure that you would have had some discussion with the political leader, your political leader, as to your role within the government. I think that people would be very, very interested out there to find out what role you intend to play, maybe what ministry you may be associated with in this new government.
Is there a question in there somewhere?
No. There's a question.
You were making a statement.
Right
Marlon asked me.
Yeah.
But,
what role, Phillip Alexander?
She's playing her cards very close to her chest. She's playing her cards very close to her chest. And all of us.
Phillip Alexander, you really think that we believe in that?
Marlon accuses me.
Listen. Hundreds of thousands of people looking at you
I
here this
know,
morning.
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
When we together telling you this is must-see TV.
Go ahead.
People, this is really fight gonna
so
start.
you all have not spoken about your role yet.
There are some things that is not my remit to say.
Okay.
You'd appreciate that,
Yeah.
right? So
you're holding your cards close to
not
your
me,
chest.
it's not my cards.
Okay.
She's the leader, she's the general. I've said from the start, from the moment the coalition was formed, I said she decides where the pieces go on the board and we work with that. That's what leadership is. Ultimately, the responsibility is hers. We learned that yesterday in the PNM. It's nice to be the boss when things running in your favor. You also have to remember that responsibility comes with accountability. And we need people that are capable of doing that.
What do you see as your role within the UNC? Within this, I shouldn't say the UNC.
The coalition of interest.
The coalition of interest. What do you see as your role?
Honestly, I am a fix-it man. I've been known as a fix-it man. There are things that she's going to want. I am going to be available to serve. In the politics, my job was to make sure that we cut through the noise and get her message out. And we took care of that. So we're now transitioning from politics to governance. Over the next couple of days, when she unveils the plan by who is appointed where, you would already start to get a sense of the tenor of her administration.
Yeah. What about the PEP, your political party? What's the future of that looking like right now?
Yesterday, a journalist asked me the same question, and I said, we in the executive of the Progressive Empowerment Party have spoken at length about this since March 2nd, 2024, because prior to that we had discussed that Kamala Persad-Bissessar, in her repositioning of the United National Congress, took on a lot of progressive policies. That was the purpose of the PEP, to bring progressive policies to the conversation. And she repositioned herself very much as a center party and took on a lot of our policies to the point where it no longer made sense having two parties pretty much advocating for the same thing. The United National Congress speaks for a wide and a larger group of people that it might be better if we work together. It might be better if we work together. So the coalition of interest was a first step. But we are very aware that over the next couple weeks, months, that it may make more sense to just merge our movement to the UNC. That there's been no discussions. I'm saying that here. But from our position, we're ready to move in that direction.
Merger, not dissolution.
Well, I mean, however the mechanics work out, at the end of the day, it's a vehicle. PEP is a vehicle, UNC is a vehicle. If the two vehicles go in the same direction, you don't need two vehicles. How do we bring all of these capable people on board to work with Kamala Persad-Bissessar in her vision of her party? All of that is for future conversation. But as I'm saying to you, because you're asking me, and I am not somebody to be vague, we're ready to go in that direction. The only purpose for a Progressive Empowerment Party after this is to be a counterbalance.
How many persons would have voted for your party during this election?
I think a little under 10,000.
All right.
But we only had 3 seats.
Okay, but are you concerned at all that if this merger, because there is a merger already, right? And there could be possibly a dissolution. Are you concerned at all about that this may alienate the 10,000 persons who would have voted for your party?
Well, you see, again, we don't make these decisions on our own. We're very active on social media. Our members, they give us the pulse. We can't just arbitrarily take them in a direction. To be a third party, you lead people who are neither fish nor fowl with the other two. So they are open-minded and they are basically thinking people. And so they're going to have their opinions and they're going to have strong opinions and you have to be able to negotiate those opinions. So we're not going to take or make wild decisions. We're going to talk to them. But at the end of the day, I think that a case could be made You know, the PNM has to go through a rebuilding and a transitionary phase now. What happened yesterday in Balizi House is massive, and people are paying attention to that because there was an ideological shift 10 years ago, shifted back. And they now have to determine what they stand for, while we, in this coalition of interests, work to establish ourselves as the de facto government, that you shouldn't need another government. We will deliver, we will fix it. So I think that the job now is to bring governance closer to deliverance, to the people, to delivery, and everybody gets what they need to make a life, and we go forward from there.
Let's talk a little bit about that third-party situation, because I think that you and other political leaders with the third party, you all have been championing these third parties. Third parties didn't do very well, you know, during this last election.
Well, again,
they are going to be phased out after a while, you think?
The UNC ultimately was a third party. During the NAR, PNM days, the UNC came out of Club 88, that came out of the NAR. So, I mean, there's that. You give yourself that. You can tell yourself the NAR started as the ONR predominantly and joined with the ULF and DAC. There will always be people who are neither fish nor fowl. What you as government need to do is reach out to them to find out what is making you feel left out of the net. If you are not feeling like we are delivering, unless it's wildness, unless it's something crazy and left of center, far left of center, the government should, as much as possible, try to bring everybody under that umbrella. So all of the third parties that exist, if I were to give the leader of the coalition any advices, sit with them. See if they speak for members that have genuine concerns, that are things that you could look at. I mean, I wish I could show you my WhatsApp, because all of the congratulations I get, they come with, don't forget this, don't forget that. Like Jean Ambrose reminded me, don't forget the hotel school. Now, Trinidad needs to play in tourism. Trinidad and Tobago needs to play in tourism. They have no getting away from that. My son attended the hotel school. It was a wonderful institution that created a lot of jobs and a lot of industry. And nobody knows why it was shut down, and it needs to be redeveloped to take us to prepare skilled workers for that industry. Jean Ambrose made sure to remind me, so I'm letting him hear that I'm saying his name. There are a lot of Christian born from CRISM. He is one of the foreign news importers, but he's in the car industry, and they want to go to the next level in the car industry. So there are so many people in Trinidad that have good ideas, that are invested, that you could sit with and see how you bring them under the umbrella, and also use those ideas or that energy to further develop the economy.
Yeah. So is it safe to say, judging from what you are telling us this morning here, is that there is a clear vision by the Prime Minister and by the other leaders who are involved in this coalition interest as to how they intend to move this country forward? Of course, you and other persons would have said, and I'm seeing it on social media, that the place is a bit lighter now. But, and I mentioned this morning, right, that already, because of the promises that were made on the platform, 5 o'clock yesterday morning, someone was saying, well, here's what. This government is going to be sworn in, right? And they have made these promises. People want the piece of flesh, you know. So how do you explain, because you do have that dilemma, You do have that dilemma now that here's what. The government would have promised this. I want the piece of flesh and I want it now. So what do you tell people such as these?
Okay, I'm sure you could judge by my tone today, by me. And I'm just saying this, that I am part of something that I know is bigger than me. I no longer speak as me. So I no longer speak, I used to speak off the cuff before. I knew what I stood for and what I stood against. There are things that I can and cannot say.
So this is a transformed Phillip Alexander here?
Yeah, it is. It has to be. It has to be. And every one of those leaders that you see in that coalition, we don't lose our personality, we don't lose our fire, we don't lose our passion. But now we're a team. And you don't get 11 players on a football side doing what they want. We're a team. And that team it has come together under a vision. You ask me if she has a plan? She has plans, plural. We've been clued in. The reason for fighting this hard to get it elected, to get that coalition elected, is besides dodging the mad bullets of surrendered sovereignty and putting all our eggs in one basket with regards to Maduro and the Dragon gas field. Besides that, there's also the promise. When you say the place feels lighter, everybody...
No, not I. Other people would have said that.
All right.
Well, but I'm not really asking about the leaders in the coalition. I'm asking about the people, the persons who would have voted for you. Overwhelmingly.
Expectations.
We
have to manage expectations.
People want things now.
But at the end of the day...
It may not be realistic to you. No, but to the people who would have voted.
I think the majority of people who went through that 10 years, who knew what it was like to be speaking to a tone-deaf government, I think that what they want more than anything is to have a government that says, yes, we hear you. This is what's happening. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but we hear you. We no longer have a prime minister that will get on the stage and insult you. We have a prime minister that will say, we hear you. We have a prime minister that created a baby milk grant because a woman got arrested for stealing milk. And she saw it on the news and said, nobody must ever have to resort to stealing milk again. She is responsive. We know that from the People's Partnership experience. She's responsive. We know that from the experience of generating manifestos for the coalition. She takes other people's views into account, and then she leads. That is a complete 180 degrees from what just took place. Okay. And I think that the average person and their expectations have to also be measured with a certain amount of realism, that we are inheriting something and we have to fix and move forward. We want success. We want to win the next election. We're already planning the next 5-year election. So we know that delivery is paramount, that getting the public settled, nobody must be panicked, nobody must be concerned. They must know that if I want to start a business, I can go to the bank and sit down in the bank. The big financial institutions set up for that. It's no longer a set of grants that you have to dance for with a party card. A proper run country is what we're going for. And I think that is going to be something that becomes self-evident over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks. Again, when you see who is appointed in what positions, because we know a lot of these people already, and we know what they're capable of. We have one of your very good friends as part of our
very good
team.
Friends.
I asked him, I said, if I go on TV with Marlon and we end up fighting, what to look out for? He said, he's small, but he's scrappy, be careful.
I want to talk about, there was some talk about a recount in the constituency that you were a candidate for.
Well, it became a thing, so I had to speak on it because people were messaging me to ask me, where are the numbers? So how come the Diego Martins and Reporter Spain's, the numbers weren't there while the count was going on? They conceded and it seemed like everything stopped and then it went into limbo. Yesterday, 2 different documents surfaced, both of them purporting to be EBC documents, suggesting numbers. And we have our tally sheets from our polling agents. We have a document from the returning officer. And things weren't lining up, and it wasn't adding up. But the party has a leadership and an elections team. And I think that they are going to look at everything. And at some point, we're going to decide what the situation is. We don't need too many distractions. Unless they believe that there is something that requires us going into this, we prepare to accept and move forward.
A very toned down Phillip Alexander this morning. Man is preparing for government, you know. Phillip, anything else you'd like to tell us before you leave us here this morning?
I think that, and thank you very much for having me again, and I think that Trinidad and Tobago is in a very, oh my God, it is in such a good place today as to where it was last week. There's so much hope. There's so much hope. Yes, you say it's built on promise, but it's also built on change. Change is good. We got a very dank and fetid place. We're now opening the windows, letting fresh air in. The guidance of the people is paramount. I want to call on Trinidad and Tobago to continue to stay focused. Everybody knows they have access to me, and I'm sure they have access to others in the parties and the coalition. Keep us informed. We don't want to end up in an echo chamber. We want to know. I'm going to continue to, as much as possible, keep my feet as grounded as possible so that feedback does not get lost.
Yeah. Phillip Alexander, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my
and
brother.
we wish you all the best.
Thank
yeah?
you, my brother.
All right, everybody. We are going to a very short break. We are coming back.